Hello, Ximena here. DeeDee. We just got out of a homeschool conference. We're here at a hotel. We got a lot out of it, so we wanted to share some things with you while we have coffee.
I just love that our charter school provides this conference for us every year.
Springs Charter, California.
Speaking of Springs Charter, here in California and maybe in other states as well, charter schools are a great blessing, a great benefit to our school system. And they're actually part of the public school system. And so they just told us during the conference that a lot of people don't realize that charter schools are free public schools. It's not private school, but it's for the purpose of giving parental choice to the parents here in our state. And so we just ask that you support the charter school movement when you vote.
So I think my first takeaway from the conference was stop the busyness.
So big.
It's so crazy in our culture today. We think busyness equals success.
Yeah. I was really glad that she said how travel ball and like too many sports activities, extracurricular, really does take away from the family time.
And it said it actually takes away from their creativity.
Yes, that was huge.
Because a lot of times we enroll our kids in 5 different things because we think, oh, we want them to be well-rounded and creative.
Right, there's this balance because it said doing sports boosts creativity, but then organized sports and just, I think, the chaoticness of it decreases the creativity in studies. So it's not just her saying her opinion.
It's worthwhile to really take a look, and whether you homeschool or not, you know, to say, do I have way too many activities? I mean, is it really necessary in our lives? Or what is more valuable? Should we sit at the table and have dinner as a family?
Right.
More nights rather than eating in the car and running to practice. Yeah.
Another good one I went to was Cynthia Tobias.
Check her out.
Yeah, check her out, especially if you have a strong-willed child or you just feel like you're struggling to get your children, you know, to communicate with them. She was really good. She's written several books about that. But she said, help your children make checklists on how they learn. I thought that was really good. So she's going through the list, right? Auditory learners. They not only learn from hearing stuff, but they got to talk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so Angela.
Right. So Carlo.
And then the visual learners don't just learn from seeing videos and pictures and they need to be stimulated visually. They are doodlers. They want to learn. They're going to draw what they see. They're going to visualize stuff that they can't visualize what you're saying. They're not going to get it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so, and my son James. And then the last is the kinesthetic learner. And she said, not only do they have to touch and do and feel and be, you know, active in their learning, but they're moving all the time. So she said, like, give them a ball to sit on or a twirly chair or something to squeeze. Like, that's also, and he's like, my son David, always with something in his hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, why do you have that paper clip right now?
And it actually helps him think. That's one of the things that when we studied the brain, that like if a child is rocking and that's helping them learn and absorb what the teacher's saying, stop moving, and then, well, now I can't pay attention.
Well, they can't think of anything else because they want to move.
Yeah.
So like all of them, it's like they get stuck because you're trying to get them to conform and do what you say, and they're stuck on whatever it is that's bothering them.
And the beauty about homeschooling is that you can't do that. You can't accommodate your children. Maybe in public school you have 30 kids, it's a little harder. But when you are at home, you can accommodate.
So I'm going to be looking at how to implement that more.
The checklist. Checklist on how, make them aware of how they learn so that they can help themselves. So another takeaway from me was, on that note, respecting the way they learn, right? And really allowing that discussion to be a part of our everyday learning. And so how do we regardless of how they learn too, there are certain ways that our brain works and how our brain processes the sensory input. And there are times we have filters, right, that block some of this input that's going in, and it's not necessarily voluntary. So sometimes when our kids miss something that we said, they're not purposely missing what we said. There are filters that are maybe keeping them from getting the whole thing. Even us, if we were to see a video, we would miss something.
Yeah, I always tell the kids, okay, look, if mommy starts to get frustrated with you because you forgot something or you're running late or you're slow, just remind me that your brain's not fully developed.
It's true though, it's true.
It is. Your brain's not fully developed till at least 25.
Yeah. And they gave us some really great tips on how to capture their attention. So using the use of like curious videos or curious images, even if they have nothing to do with the subject, you can find a way to tie it into the subject. Asking questions, predictions, just really sparking that curiosity.
Well, you know, that sparks our own creativity. Right. And that was so like sad that the study that was presented that said 98% of 5-year-olds are out of the box creative. And by the time they're adults, you're like 2% of the people are out of the box creative and everybody else is.
That's a tragedy.
It is.
Because we're becoming these cookie cutter, a society of just cookie cut people.
But even like 15-year-olds, said like 15% of them really are tapping into creativity.
Yeah.
Already with that little 10-year span, it's like they've lost the gift of creativity and thinking outside of the box and really exploring.
So I think it's really important as homeschool parents. One of the things that just kept resonating while I was listening to all these notes and kind of putting it together is, how do we as homeschool moms create an environment for them to really thrive in that creativity and encourage creativity, not trump it by creating a bunch of rules or because we want to stick to our schedule or because we have an expectation, but really let them be who God created them to be and learn in that way so that they can always be inspired to use that creativity.
Yeah. I'm so thankful to be able to get recharged and inspired because I am such a schedule, like I'm already thinking like, okay, here's the schedule and I'm going to really like start the year off real strict.
Yeah, I get like that too. I get like that.
To have a balance. You're not going to get any work done if you don't have a regimen, but you got to have a balance.
But creating that safe environment where, that's another thing they mentioned is, things don't stay in your long-term memory unless you have created those neural pathways with myelin. Myelin is a substance that wraps around these pathways that actually make them connect and make them stronger. Well, I learned a long time ago that myelin is produced when you make mistakes. So your brain registers it as, okay, well that wasn't right. So we have to allow our kids to make those mistakes without us getting frustrated.
Yeah, and actually when we were kind of thinking about this point, is my next thing, was I always say, oh, I'm going to implement more games, and I keep buying games, right? And then we like play them 1 or 2 times to implement games because like trivia games and things like that are a great opportunity to say the wrong answer, but the process of like joking and playing that game does create those long-term memories.
Yeah.
So,
moments.
Yeah, I was even thinking, for the school year, to let that be a weekly thing that we do, not just in the evening on family night,
We have it be a part of their learning.
But part of our learning day.
Yeah, that's important.